Paul Lucido here with Take Five. Join me as we explore the stories of 14 high-ranking women in the finance industry who joined forces to share the naked truth about their life experiences and journeys. The book that we are going to discuss today is Win or Learn. Now, the book is written by Christine Beckwith, best-selling author and founder of 2020 Vision for Success Coaching, along with the co-author, who's Elizabeth Karwowski, the COO of Credivault. Both women help share 14 amazing stories through the eyes and wisdom of 14 different women who have endured life lessons, many of which are disguised and shrouded by disruption and life's pitfalls. Now, the book Win or Learn, which, by the way, cleverly disguises or strikes out the word lose right there, it's just literally stricken out of the cover, as a non-option, digs deep into each of the backstories of these 14 women and the impactful, life-changing, and defining moments they experienced, all of which take you as the reader on a journey through their personal experiences, starting with their upbringing, how they, went through life's trials, tribulations, and adversities, and of course, all of which help them grow and lead them to becoming highly successful and well-respected individuals, primarily in this case in the mortgage industry. Now, again, when we talk about this kind of thing, there are a lot of great books out there that speak to overcoming adversity. In fact, when you're in the realm of sales and marketing and being an advocate, or you're reading like books like that speak to emotional intelligence and different things like that, you're going to find out that a lot of people over time who have become highly successful many times come from very little, or in many instances have lived broken lives for a long period of time, then ultimately have, risen up to the occasion, pulled themselves up by the bootstraps, and moved on to greater successes. Now, while this book does speak along those lines, as many different books I've read in the past, I think what makes this book interesting is the fact that anybody can pick it up and read it, and it's going to resonate with someone. One of those 14 stories, perhaps 80% of those stories will stick with you and will mean something to you, because it's likely that you may have gone through something very similar. And that's what it's all about. It's about connecting with other people and then revealing that, when there's a will, there's a way. And all these women are very willful. All these women are very on top of their game now. And so with that, I will probably dig in a little bit into some of what I would classify as my personal take. So some of the most impactful moments for me was starting, let's say, in chapter 2, where Christine Beckwith speaks about what she refers to as the broken spirit. She now speaks openly in this chapter, and she goes on to say, in her own words, about the inexorable tearing into her psyche that ultimately led to a life of misery, and actually that misery becoming part of her normal existence. Now let's stop right there. A lot of people go through that, where you have other people in your life that are not really being supportive, or maybe those that are around you are just, planting seeds of negativity, which over time begin to marinate into your psyche and then begin to bring you down. And, if you remember, Andrew Berman and I, when we were doing the book review, for example, on 30 Days of Thought, that is a primary example of, talking about how to overcome those types of obstacles in one's life. And so Christine really breaks it down. And I got to tell you, she's got a super compelling story. But that particular part about the broken spirit kind of resonated with me. I understand what that is. I've seen that in other people. And it's not easy to pull yourself out of. You have to have a lot of grit, a lot of fortitude, and a lot of belief in yourself to get you out of that mindset. And in Christine's case, look what she's gone on to be. And she's a best-selling, award-winning author. She governs her own company. She's the founder of her own company, 2020 Vision. And I think that, she deserves a round of applause for being able to really pull herself out. Now she's doing amazing, great things, right? Here's another one. This kind of stuck with me, and I found this to be really interesting. The unrelenting tenacity, as I call it, of Sue Woodard. Now, many of you know who Sue Woodard is. Well, in this particular case, she's identified as the little girl in the red booster chair. Now, this all stems from her father, who recognized at a very early age that she can do anything that she puts her mind to. And believe you me, that is exactly who Sue Woodard is. Sue Woodard is all about tenacity, grit, and that can-do attitude. And she has exemplified that in all her public talks, in presentations that I've witnessed, and even meeting her on a personal level. So I really, really appreciate that energy. Also, how defining moments create powerful opportunities, where Ginger Bell discovered very, very early on that successful leaders organize, prioritize, communicate, and set expectations through teaching and rewarding, all of which started in the household she grew up, where she helped raise her two younger brothers. She literally garnered that thinking at that age. That's really, really impressive. Look at Ginger now, edu-marketer, a specialist. She's doing her podcast. Ginger has been out there for a long time. I've known Ginger for a long time in the mortgage industry, but I have to tell you, to see the growth that she's achieved over the last 5 years has just been pretty amazing. So big hat tip to Ginger. And then, of course, I got a couple more that I found very interesting. The Power of Saying Yes, where Laura Brandeo reluctantly stepped out of her comfort zone. This is back, I think, in 2018, and she accepted the challenge to do some speaking on a panel. She was asked to moderate a panel. Now, while at first that sounded good to her and she was excited about the idea, the doubt began to seep in, right? And now she started to become very uncomfortable with the idea of being comfortable with that. But here's the great news. The great news is it ultimately led to a life-changing transformation for Laura, and finding what she classifies as her voice. So there you go. And now look at Laura today. Today, Laura's voice speaks volumes, and I don't mean just in decibels. I mean about who she is, what she's done, and how passionate she is about how she can help make a difference in everybody's life and every day. I mean, Laura is that person, and I applaud her on having that grit and gumption. Now, another one that kind of stuck with me, which I found to be kind of interesting, was being a chingona. And what that means is being a badass, and particularly a badass woman. And this speaks to leaning in and living life on your own terms, much like what Patty Arviello did. And she has a great backstory. Of course, we all know who she is. And at the end of the day, with her story, being that she comes from a family of immigrants. Her mom lived in Mexico, as well as her grandmother. And then, of course, when they were here in California, she was raised, and she would go back and forth to Mexico to visit her grandmother. And all of that contributed to shaping who she is. And one of the things that stuck with her is, they would say, don't be a chingona, don't act like you're tough. But the reality of it is, what she did is she leaned into being tough, to applying that grit and actually leveraging it. And now she owns it. And, I think there's something to be said for that. So a huge hat tip to her. Anyway, these are all just a few snippets and examples of what's embodied in this book. This is built for entrepreneurs and people that have maybe had some self-doubt and need somebody on the outside to share their experiences to help bring you out and to help you realize that you can do it too if you put your mind to it. Again, many of these women have equally compelling stories, and all having distinguished lists of awards, recognition, and tremendous accomplishments. Many have gone on to have their own companies, be founders of their companies, and just be great public speakers. So with that, I will leave a link where you can find this on Amazon. The book is called Win or Learn. And again, my name is Paul Lucido, and thank you for joining me. And I will see you in the next Take 5. Finally, in the words of Elizabeth Karwowski, continue forward because you can.